Hello, everybody. This is Toby Gennaro. Welcome to Market Movers, and we'll be looking to get things started here shortly. Let's do a couple things before we get moving here. My name is Toby Gennaro from Trade with Precision, and looks like we've got a decent size crowd on today. So let's do a sound check real quick and make sure that everything's coming across loud and clear. Make sure you guys can see my screen, hear my voice very well. I don't have to change anything. Sometimes technology works. Sometimes we have some glitches, but if you can just let me know, some of you, by the question screen on your screen, the question box, if you can just fill something in there, say, hey, I'm from Texas or wherever, or sounds good, something like that, and we'll get things moving here, pretty shortly. So great, guys. Thanks for doing that. And then we'll get the recording started, so you guys will have this available via YouTube going forward, and then we'll cover this thing for about 30 minutes. Got a couple of markets we'll go through, and if you guys want to hang around after the 30 minutes is up, we can go through maybe a couple of more charts and talk about some other markets that you're into. So for purposes of the recording, let me just do a little blurb here, and we'll move through these slides, and then we'll hit some of the live charts and get to the stuff that you guys are really interested in. So hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Toby Gennaro, and I will be your presenter for today. The topic for today is live trading with Nadex contracts. We're going to be talking through just a series of some specific trade setups that I'm seeing in real time in the markets. And we'll be taking a look at, first off, the S&P 500, and then we'll take a look at the dollar Swiss and take a look and see what those charts look like and some of the setups that I'm seeing. So for those of you that are on the webinar live today, if you have any questions during the session, you can type those into the question box on your screen. I'll be asking you guys some questions as well, so we'll try to keep it interactive and do it that way. And just by way of formality, I need to put up this risk warning and disclaimer, so I'll just leave this up for about 30 seconds or so. If you can just have a quick read through this, that would be good. What this is saying in brief is that we provide education only, which means we do not give any financial advice. Trading the markets can be risky. It's not suitable for everyone, and you should seek independent professional advice. And just give you a chance to read through that a little bit. Okay, everybody good? And then just one more disclaimer here from Nadex. A quick read through this one. Give you a minute to do that, and then we'll get started here. All right, very good. So just the agenda for today, what we're trying to do here is give you a way to kickstart your trading each Tuesday morning with this regular feature from the trading team here at Trade with Precision. And, with so much going on in the markets each week, news and geopolitical stuff, just trying to give you an idea of how we can spot opportunities across multiple markets, multiple time frames. And so join us weekly for this, very insightful webinar. We're here to, focus on the technical and the trend analysis across some of the major markets and to try to get an answer to that question, what's going to happen this week in, the S&P 500, for example, and try to get an idea by looking at the charts technically, by looking at the price action as to what we think what might be happening. So let's go ahead, let's jump into the live charts here, see what kind of trading opportunities that we can find for today and see what things look like. So let me just give me a second here to get my Windows screen set up so you guys can see everything. I'm going to be using a platform for charting just specifically so I can kind of go through things quickly and have the time frames at my fingertips. I do like the charts that they're providing in within the Nadex platform. We'll get to that in a minute, but for the sake of doing this stuff in about 30 minutes, I need to be able to move through stuff pretty quickly. And so these charts on TradeStation allow me to do that and to look at a number of different time frames, so I can show you guys kind of exactly what the trade setup is, what we're looking for. But we'll get in here, we'll place some trades on the Nadex platform. We'll look at the some of the binary contracts that I have selected for today that I think might be appropriate for the trade setup that we're looking at, and then we can field some of your questions around these. So first off, I'm looking at the ES contract right here. And I'm looking at the higher time frames, the monthly and the weekly. I don't have these time frames on the Nadex platform, but it's not a big deal. I just want to take you through kind of a top-down analysis of how I look at things technically. So in looking at, the ES, a lot of you guys have been following this. This isn't anything new. Obviously, it's been a huge uptrend since, basically since Trump took office, a couple of months ago. So you can see here just on the monthly candles, we've got, quite a number of months here, even since this nice setup there, candle right there in the buy zone between the 10 to 20 period moving average, continuing to kick higher up into this 2432 level. And then as we look on the weekly time frame, you can see the last couple of weeks has been really just a straight move up. Had a nice candle right there that we're looking at. And whenever we get these rejection candles in and around the buy zone is really in between these moving average zones, between the 10 period moving average and the 20. This red one is the 50 and this green one is the 200. So on uptrends like this, I'm really just looking for these pullbacks into this zone right here. And whenever I get a nice bullish candle, like that nice green candle right there, we get a break of the high and then a move to another high, and then we get a little pullback like on this one right here, back into the buy zone, gets rejected, and investors are coming in, they're buying the market back up, then we get a break of the high, and then we're back up to a new high again. It's called our trend flow trade strategy. So we'll be looking for those here on the S&P, and then we'll look for a flat level breakout on the dollar Swiss pairing and see what that looks like a little later on. But for right now, on the weekly chart, monthly chart, everything is heading higher. So obviously that's a technical bullish signal in terms of the trade strategies that we use. Looking at the daily, we just had a setup right there, right in and around that buy zone. Got a break up to the high. Looks like we might be pulling down a bit, but as we move over to the 8-hour chart, looks like we already did pull back into that buy zone. Got a nice bullish candle setting up right there. We've got a break of the high of that candle, and that's really my signal to to get long again on this particular market when I'm looking at this technically. So moving down through the time frames, we've got the 4-hour chart, same thing, nice bullish candle right there, break above the high, and then that stops as we get into the 2-hour chart. We've got a nice bullish candle there, a break above the high, but we don't have the moving averages in alignment. So whenever those moving averages cross over, I can't really use that 2-hour chart. I can really only use the 4-hour and the 8-hour chart. And that's really all I need to make this setup work, are two time frames sitting side by side with an identical setup on both time frames. And then that gives me the opportunity to look for a trade. So let's go to the Nadex platform, and what I'm looking for, since I'm on a 2-hour and or actually a 4-hour and an 8-hour time frame, each one of these candles represents 2 hours. So it basically took 2, 4, 6, 8, almost 10 hours or more for this trade to set up. How long do I think it's going to take for the market to get back up to, say, 2440? And it doesn't really even have to go that far. We can make money at 2435, 2438, but 2440 is going to be the next level where we might get a sell-off and a pullback, may get a flat level there to move higher. Who knows what can happen? It's anybody's guess. But for right here, I'm looking at a higher probability trade that the market's going to get to 2440, and more than likely, I'm going to have to give it probably till the end of the day to do that. So let's take a look at the charts here. And so I've got the charts up for Nadex, and we're looking right here at where we're at. So we're sitting here right around 2432, and we'll be looking at the finder, and let's see if we can find. Let's take a look at the daily contract here. So the daily contracts, right now we're sitting right around 2432. We're looking at that 2440 level as the high. So I'd be interested in taking a look at 2435. If the market gets cooking here to the long side, we could blow through 2445 or 2435, and then possibly what some of the other ones are, 2435, 2438 would be really two of the ones I'd be looking at. And we got about 4 hours for these to work, which I think should be enough time based on the time frames that we're looking at. And so as you can see, some of these going long, you'd be looking at the 24.35 is about 3 points away. That one can be had for about $28 to the long side. The 24.38, that's a little bit far for me. Market could get that far, but that's a little bit of a long shot. I may do a mix of some at 28 and maybe a couple at the price action of 10. And at least that would give me the option to say, hey, if I made money on these and I lost money here, I'd still be overall profitable on the trade. And it's really kind of a profit-taking strategy that I use when I'm trading some of these binaries, because they are, an all-or-nothing proposition, and that's really going to be, the key to what we're doing here. Now, let me take a look at some questions here and see if what you guys are thinking, what you're talking about, and what you're asking. Yeah, so one question here from Jim. The 240-minute chart, 4 hours. Yeah, I might have made a mistake there, Jim. The 240-minute chart is a 4 hour, and then what I was looking at on the other TradeStation chart was the 480, and so that's going to be the 8 hour. So the setup I'm looking at here was on the 8 hour chart and the 4 hour, which is the 480 and the 240. And so Joe's got a question here about the buy zone. Was that between the 10 and the 20? Yes. So as I'm looking here, I've got the 10-period moving average here. Here's the 20, and then here is the 50. And then on the other charts I was looking at, I had a green line in here, which was the 200. So those are always the four moving average periods that we use. You can use the simple or you can use the exponential. And then whenever we get pullbacks into the 10 and 20 period zone, that's really where we get the setup candle. I want a nice bullish setup candle. Hopefully I'd like it to be a rejection candle like this one right here. And more than likely, I'd like to see it green. This one happens to be red. You can see we rejected this price right here. We ended up right here, followed up with a break of the high, and then it looks like we're moving back higher into this zone. That's what my technicals are telling me, and those are the trade strategies that we use. No, I don't use the Ichimoku at all. I think I answered the question about that. I tend to use the exponential. These right here are simple. I like the exponential because it kind of keeps everything a little bit closer, and it keeps my zones together a little bit more, makes them easier to read. Robert's got a question. The moving average indicator lags for me. Is that for all indicators? All indicators are pretty much lagging indicators, Robert. So what we're doing here is we're using these as leading indicators. And what that means is we're not just looking for pullbacks to a moving average, because you're right, that is a lag. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for all of these moving averages trending to the upside, and I need all of them basically fanning out in this direction. If they're all crossed over and mixed up together, that's not the trade setup in the optimal chart setup that I want to see. Does that make sense to you? So when they're all aligned like this, and I've got higher highs and higher lows in the price action, then when we get a pullback into the moving average zone, that's going to be a high probability setup for me. Okay. So let me go back here and take a look with you guys at just some of the basic chart setup, because I'm getting a lot of questions about just looking at the basic trend structure of a chart. So this is the optimal chart structure that I'm looking for right here. We've got a 200 period moving average, a 50, a 20, and a 10 in there. You see how they're all fanning up in the direction of the price action, which means the price action is headed up. We've got higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, another higher low, another higher high. And right here, based on the price action, I'm looking for yet another higher low. Okay, and then we're probably more than likely going to be looking for another higher high, but I really don't need to concern myself with that. I'm really looking for the higher low is in, and I'm at least looking for the market to move back up to that 2440 level, and that's really all I'm banking on for today and for the trade setup that I'm looking at. Make sense? So as we're moving here and as we get these zones in here, we'll call this the buy zone between the 10 period and the 20 period. And when the market pulls back into this zone, it sets up with a rejection candle or a buy candle or a nice big green candle like that, or a rejection candle like this. And once we break the high of that level, then I'm looking for the next move higher. Okay, so that's really the trade setup. It's called the trend flow trade strategy. It's really a trending type of trade scenario that we look for. It's pretty typical among professional traders to look for these pullbacks Otherwise, how do you know where the market's headed if you don't understand a trending structure and you don't understand some type of a pullback structure? So does that make sense to everybody? So one of the things I'll be talking about at the end of the session is an advanced education course that Nadex is offering. And what that means is we'll run this over a couple of weeks, and we'll show you guys all of the ins and outs, all of the details of two particular trade strategies. We'll show you this trending pullback strategy. We'll also show you a flat level trading strategy, a breakout strategy. And so you guys can learn all of this. So I'm not necessarily going to go into all the details about everything, but I'd like you guys to understand enough about what I'm talking about today and the trade setup that I'm looking at and why I'm taking the trade and why I'm looking for the market in this particular segment to move back up to this level. Is that cool for you guys? Some folks are looking for a smaller time frame setup. I'd love to show you a smaller time frame setup. I can't always find them within the 30-minute time frame that we're running this section. So they're going to show up in the same way. This setup could be, you can just erase this 240-minute chart, and this could be a 5-minute chart. It could be a 2-minute chart. Could be a 15-minute chart. All that tells me is that whatever time frame this setup is occurring on, all I have to do is just count the candles. If it's a 5-minute chart, then it took this about maybe 30 minutes for this pullback to occur. And I know that if I take this trade, I may have 5 candles to get back to 240, which means each candle is 5 minutes. It might be 25 minutes for the market to move. And that's going to help me to select a binary, a Nadex binary that will be, applicable for this particular trade setup. Does that make sense? Does that work for you? Yeah, there you go, Tim. So that's all I'm looking for. So since we're working with a 4-hour and an 8-hour chart, I got to take that into consideration because this might take a lot longer to get back up to 2440. But if we look at some of the things that have happened in the past, it takes a long time for the markets to pull back. But once we get a bullish setup candle, look how quickly they run up. So more than likely, it's going to be a faster run to 2440, I'm thinking, based on this price action than for the length that it took to pull back. Because it took maybe, 12 hours for this pullback. It may only take 4 hours, for this thing to get cooking back up to 2440. Okay, is everybody cool on that? So let's go to the charts here, get a trade in before this thing, I think, starts to move and see what we can do. So I'm looking at a daily contract here because I'm thinking about 4 hours should be enough. And so we're looking at this one. It's already started to move a little bit. So let's take a look at the 2435 ticket and see what that looks like. We'll take a look here at 30. We'll get involved in, I don't know, say about 4 contracts, and we'll place that order. And then we'll also look at, what was another one we were looking at right here at the 2438. Since we're looking at that 2440 as an overall one, I'm going to take a couple of contracts here on this one, but I'm just going to do half. I'm just going to do 2 contracts on this one. And if I make money on the 2435 and I end up losing money on the 2438, that's okay with me because I've got roughly a 2-to-1 right here. If I buy these at 30 and I can sell them at potentially 90, then I can afford to lose a few dollars here and make some money here. But if this thing really gets running, it blows by 2440, and all of a sudden I can potentially make money on all of my contracts. And that's kind of how I trade these, because they are an all or nothing opportunity. So I got to make sure I cover myself. Okay. So that's a little bit of the strategy there and how that's working. So while that's we got those trades in, let's take a look at our working orders and our open positions and see what all those things look like. So these are our open positions. So we're not things haven't started to work just yet, but we'll come back to these in the end. You guys can track these throughout the day. I doubt within the next 15 minutes they're going to start to work, since we've got a 4-hour time frame on these anyway. But one of the things I'd like to do is show you guys how to get a trade in to get your setup. What I like to do is take half of my profit since I bought them at 30, I want to take half profit at 60. So I'll go in here and get my sell set up at 2 contracts, and I'm going to get this set up at the price of 60, and I'll place that order, and that gets my break even set up automatically without me even tracking it. So while we're looking at the next market, we'll get this one working, and then on this one, I've got a few ones in here. I could just leave this as it is, or for the sake of today, I could put in, you know, I'll sell half of my position, and then since I bought them at about 10, I'll look to sell these at, say, 20 and get out of half my position at break even. So both of my trades could be at break even here within the next hour. But I don't know that, and that's why I want to put these in. So if the market gets moving, I always want to be taking profit and reducing my risk as the trade moves in my favor. Make sense? Okay, so those are set up. Let's go back here and take a look at the other market that I wanted to look at for you guys, and that will be the dollar Swiss. There was a flat level breakout setup. This is the other trade setup that we'll show you in the advanced course if you guys decide to take that with Nadex. So here we are on the higher time frames, just an idea of where this market has been. There's been a slight upward trend on the monthly time frame. In the last couple of months, we've been rolling over to the downside. You can see that a little bit more exaggerated on the weekly chart. Got a little bit of overextension from the moving averages here. We're starting to get alignment on the 10, 20, and the 50s, just getting into alignment there. So looking for more of a downtrend to the downside, and then looking here at the daily chart moving down through the time frames. You can see that we got a little stall right here, a little rally back up into the buy zone. We've got the 200, the 50, the 20, the 10, all fanning out to the downside. Once we got back up into the sell zone now, we got a rejection candle there, a sell-off. And then once we got the break of the low, you can see what happened for the next basically 5 days. We got a run down in the market. And so right now what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this level right here. And you can see that nice tight flat level right there at around 96, basically right about 96.20. And so we've got all the moving averages flowing to the downside. Whenever we get these flat levels, like right here, we had one as well, right at 96.90. And you can see what the market did. It touched there twice, which set up that flat level, and then it touched again. And that's when it broke through, came back up, retested the level, and then broke down again. So that's called a flat level breakout. Looking for the same thing to happen right here at 96.20. And so as we move through the time frames, I can show you how these set up. I always want to see, 2 solid touches and then a little bit of a rally off of that touch. And then you can see prices moving back up into that sell zone. It gets sold off. It comes down. It touches that 96.20 level again. One of the things I might be looking for is another slight rally back up, and then a third touch, and then potentially a breakdown through that level, which means I'm going to be looking for that on a lower time frame, like potentially the 2-hour chart, maybe the 1-hour chart. You can see that nice clean level, flat level right there. You can see all the moving averages flowing down really nicely. As we move over to the 1-hour chart, here's that tight level, and I'm looking for a third touch along here before I find a breakout. So being that we're on an hourly chart, we could have another rally back up into this level before we get a rollover and a third touch somewhere along here. So I don't see this chart setting up necessarily in the next hour or even 4 hours. I think this might be another maybe a day, maybe 8 hours, 12 hours, something of that nature. So those would really be the Nadex binary contracts that I'd be looking at, but I'd be looking at something at 96.20 or something just a little bit below that. And once we get the breakout and it breaks that 96.20 level, then I have confirmation that the market has potential for moving lower. So let's go and take a look at those contracts, and then we'll be looking at the Swiss. So we have a couple here. Let's take a look at this daily one and see how much time that's got on it. So that one's got about 10 hours on it. I'd like a little bit more than that, so I'm probably going to try to take a look at a weekly as well. But let's take a look at this one and see what that looks like. 96.20. So we have 9600, 96.20. That one is going for, so one thing you'll notice is when the market is at the strike price level or it's at the money. So if this was at 96.20 dead on, you would find these contracts would be selling for about $50. And so since the market is above 96.20, it's selling for above 50, and you can see the corresponding prices here at $66 and $72 for both the bid and the offer. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for something that's below the $50 price or at the $50 price, so I can at least get a one-to-one setup or reward to risk, simply meaning that if I risk $50, I can make $50. I don't necessarily want to be risking $30 or risking $70 to make $30. If I do that a lot, then I have to have an incredibly high win rate in order to be profitable. But if I'm always at least trading at 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, meaning that I'm risking $1 to make $1, $2, or $3 on each and every trade, then that gives me the opportunity to have winning trades at a less than stellar record. And that's kind of the strategy that you want to have for yourself going forward. You always want to be able to say, hey, if I can win just a little bit more often than I lose on these trades, and I can make a lot more money on the winners and lose a lot less on the losers, then that's really what I want to do. So I know that, I'm going to be losing 1-to-1 on my losers, but on my winners, I might be making as much as 2-to-1, maybe even 3-to-1, and on some of these binaries, I might even make 4-to-1 or more. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right here. And so selling these, since I'm on the sell side, I'm basically selling these for, say, $68.50, $68, and that gives me, roughly what, $32 of risk, and that means I've got, I'm looking for these to go to zero so I can potentially make $68 on these contracts while I'm risking 32, and that's kind of the idea. So for right here, I'm looking at, let's pull up the chart here on the 96.20 and see what that looks like. And so here we are on this one. Let's blow that up a little bit so you guys can see. We've got the ladder in here on everything, and then let's get our finder up in our markets so we can see everything. So right here we're at 66, roughly around 66.50 at 96.20. We're not there yet on the 96.20, but we have a pretty good idea of where that level is. And so what I'd like to be doing is really deciding here between the 96.20 or the 96.40. And I think I'm probably just going to look at the longer one here at 96.20, because right here I'd be looking at roughly about 23, which would be what, $67 of risk. I'm risking $67 to make roughly, $23. That's not really a good proposition. So I want to be looking at the 96.20 or the 9600 because I'm looking for the market to go lower at a break of this 96.20 level. Does that make sense to you guys? So let's take a look at this one right here at a sell. We'll do the same thing. We'll look at about four contracts right there. And 76, we'll place that order. We're on the sell side. And so we'll get that one in, then we'll take a look at our open positions, and we'll get our break-even set up for that. So the break-even is going to be dumping half of our position. Since we're buying this at, say, 67, we're risking, what, 33, then that means I want to be selling this at, just trying to do my calculation here. I want to be buying this back at about 33. Okay, so I'm selling it for 67, buying it back at around 33. And that's going to give me my my break even, and that'll show up under my working orders. Okay, so I got 3 orders going short, going long on my various markets. Then I've got all my cover positions. I'm selling out, going in the direction of my trade. and in the direction of where I think the markets are headed. So the trades aren't working yet. We still have a lot of time on those. One thing I do want to look at is to take a look at this one with a weekly setup, because I think that's more of a better probability. And let's see, we've got 96.20, so 96.25 would be a good one-to-one. But 96.70, let's see, 96.25, and then 95.75, if we broke that 96.20 level, that would be pretty reasonable. That would be just on the breakout. We'd be able to get that going. So let's do a couple of contracts here on this one. And I'll be looking for 4 contracts going short at 73.25. And then we'll go to our open positions and then set up our break even, which is going to be 2 contracts at what was that, 73, so roughly about 35, say 36 would be our cover on the short. And so we've got all of our trades set up. You can see all of our working positions in there that way. So again, we're looking for, the break of this level. That could happen. We've got a nice swing high right here, and then a lower high right here. We've already got a lower low built in at the flat level. All I'm looking for is another consolidation. If I see some small candles consolidating right along that 96.20 level, then that'll tell me that the breakdown is imminent. And the 96.20 more than likely has a higher probability of occurring than not. So those are really some of the trades that we're looking at. Let me take a look at some of the questions here before we wrap up. We're almost at the close here. One question is what are the shortest time frames that you generally take trades off of? I'm really just looking at the charts here to find out where the trades are setting up at. So when I look at a chart like this, this is a 2-hour time frame. I'm just looking at to where is the trend and where are all of these moving averages fanning out. They're fanning out right here. And am I getting rallies and sell-offs in this downtrend? Am I getting those occurring in the zone that I'm looking at? So if I go to a higher or lower time frame, I'm not going to see this exact setup, and that's why I'm on this chart. So I'm only trading the charts where I'm finding the setups. That's all the stuff that we'll show you in the advanced education course if you guys decide to take that. It doesn't cost you anything, and you're good to go. Let me make sure I cover that with you and help you understand what that's going to be about. So let's take a look at that. And just give me a minute here to get my my screen set up. And so what Nadex is doing here is they are making an investment in your success as an investor. So we put together this advanced education package. It's going to be presented by a trader and a mentor at Trade with Precision over about three webinars, 1 hour apiece. You don't have to go anywhere. You can watch these from the comfort of your own home. The Trade with Precision trading team will be conducting these as live interactive webinars, just like the one you're on today. So you do have the ability, just like today, to ask questions about the content, work on trade examples together and setups, just like we're doing here. So we'll teach you all the ins and outs of the trade strategies that I've been using in today's sessions. You can get a better handle on all of the details of how we deploy and use these strategies properly in active markets. This education package is valued at well over $900 if you bought it directly from us at Trade with Precision, but Nadex has subsidized the cost for you, so it's a total freebie for any Nadex member with an open account. Pretty good deal for you. If you're on this webinar, you don't have to do anything. You'll be receiving an email invitation the next time we're running this advanced educational series. So a couple different ways here to get in touch with us. Both phone and email are listed here. Any questions that you might have, you can just ask me right now. I'll stay on a little while longer after we wrap up this session to answer those questions. Just use the question box on your screen. There are also 14-day demo accounts that you can use. And for current members, if you'd like to begin trading again, just log in to nadex.com and you can take advantage of that advanced education webinars I've been talking about. If you're new to Nadex and you don't have, you're not a member yet, just go to the Nadex.com webpage. Go to the orange box in the top right. It says sign up. Just click that, fill in all your details, and someone from Nadex will respond via email to get you all set up and get you going. So before you sign off, there is a short survey. Please let us know your thoughts, and certainly thank you all for joining us. If you'd like to hang on for a little bit more, I'll get back to some of those questions and get those answered for you if you'd like. And I'm just kind of looking through some of those questions right now to see who I can respond to and which ones I haven't covered yet.